Hello, beautiful people. I want to let y'all go ahead and check in. I am super excited for this next discussion with our next guest. You know, if you were here last week, we had a wonderful conversation with a group of men, and we discussed feminism from a male's perspective, just to bring awareness to some of the struggles that a lot of women have from day to day. And I intentionally wanted to have our next guest on today so we can get a little bit deeper into the mindset of a woman and how we can all feel empowered to negotiate for ourselves and claim the things that we deserve in life. So I want to go ahead and bring her on and introduce you all to our next guest, Chichi. Hi, Chichi. How are you doing?
Hey, Zakia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am excellent. You all, while you're on, I want you to go ahead and check in with us and let us know where you're signing in from, what city, what state, and feel free. This is an interactive platform. Chichi and I are here to serve and help you. So if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to sign in to the chat box and post them, and then we'll be sure to touch base with you and get your questions answered. So again, like I was just saying, Chichi is a career and mindset coach, and she's the founder of ElevatHer. She is an amazing woman and is all about promoting and inspiring women. And that's why we really wanted to share this virtual platform with you, because you have so much knowledge to share. I've been really following your journey, and we're like-minded people in the sense that, you know, we want to do our best to serve and empower women. And I'm very grateful for the experience that you have. And I just want to welcome you and thank you again for being here.
I'm super excited to be here, Zakia. Thanks for just having me on. Anything and any opportunity I get to uplift and elevate women, I'm 100% going to say yes. So I'm really happy that we're having this conversation and you've allowed me to be in your space here at Bloom. So I'm excited to just jump in and start the conversation with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chichi. So go ahead and tell us a little bit more about what you do with your business.
Oh my goodness. So my business was, I started it in 2014, and, you know, for some years I was my client, and still in some ways I am. So my business was born out of, you know, being a woman and working in corporate America and often not seeing like other women that look like you. And then you start kind of doubting your potential, what's next for me if I decide to stay in corporate America. And I wanted to provide women with tools outside of just creating a resume or helping them update their LinkedIn profile. Because I believe that I can hand you those tools. I can say, well, here's a new resume, here's a new LinkedIn. But if the mindset doesn't shift along with it, true transformation doesn't happen. So the ElevatHer, the focus that I have within my organization is to uplift women through minimizing and mitigating like limiting beliefs and really having women focus on the value they bring to an organization, really reflecting on themselves and the value that they have overall. And I also work with corporations, and I help corporations really think about how they hire talent, especially with the focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion as well. So that's a bit about the company. It's been a constant kind of evolution from 2014 till today. When I first started in 2014, it was primarily focused on like the tools, the new resume, the new LinkedIn page. But as I continued to do work with my clients, I realized I was handing them that, but it wasn't making that transformation that's needed to really climb the corporate ladder.
Awesome. I definitely can understand that. So can you tell us, is there a difference in your opinion in the way that men and women negotiate? And if so, why do you think that's the case?
So, you know, so if I was going to just share my experience, so a bit about my background, I have I would say over 10 years of experience in talent acquisition and diversity, equity, and inclusion kind of program leadership. From a talent acquisition perspective and kind of the anecdotes that I've been able to experience in doing that work and having conversations with candidates, I would say that there is. What I found in the conversations that I would have is that when it was time to negotiate, well, honestly, when it was time to even just talk about salary, women would get just really nervous and they wouldn't really want to, they would just be like, well, I'm fine with whatever, or I'm sure that you guys can pay me well. Whereas when I would be talking to men, they would be really really direct and very straightforward. If the position is not paying X, then I don't think we should move forward. So I do think that there are some there's some differences, but when I think about kind of some of the research that I've looked at, what the research has actually said is that there is women do negotiate as much as men, but the unfortunate truth is that their negotiation isn't being heard. So what does that mean? Basically, a women are negotiating, but it's not translating into making more money. It's not translating into getting the opportunity. So it's not just about the negotiation. It's also about how are we negotiating so it translates to the person that we are negotiating with. So today I'm hoping that I can help share some tools and tips and tricks to help women just be heard when we do negotiate.
That's amazing tips. So one of the things I read online, I read an article recently, and it said that men apply for positions that they at least qualify for. I think it was about 60%. And women, we look to qualify for, I think, 100% of the qualifications before we actually apply for the job. And that was an eye-opening experience, even for me, because I'm sure I have done the same thing, because just like you said, a lot of times we feel like, we're not worthy of a certain position when that could be the complete opposite. And so where do you think this anxiety comes from with women and the nervousness about, going after what you deserve?
So,
is it childhood?
Well, it's the thing. The thing is, I believe as humans, it's part of kind of our DNA and our makeup to fear the unknown. So, I believe, when you think about negotiation, there's this anxiety because you don't know how it's going to turn out. And also, I think women may have more of a, I should be glad that I have this job offer, or I should be glad that I have this job, which leads to a tendency of maybe not wanting to negotiate. So there's that fear of also maybe losing the opportunity due to negotiation. But although the negotiation anxiety exists within women and men, I think men are just more apt to kind of just go for it. With women, there's some things that we can do to kind of prepare ourselves to kind of minimize the negotiation anxiety. So some of the things that are really beneficial is to prepare yourself. So whether you're going in to negotiate for a job offer, congratulations, you just got an offer. It's time to negotiate, prepare yourself, really understand what the benchmark compensation exists for the role that you're being hired for. Or if it's to, negotiate a promotion, right? There's so many things you can negotiate in life. But just prepare yourself on what you're negotiating, and also be able to know what is your minimum. If they are not going to give me X, I'm basically going to just walk away. And I've told a lot of my clients, you have to be ready to walk away. If you're going to negotiate, you have to be ready to walk away if the other side of the table is not willing to meet your negotiation. Then also there's an opportunity to reframe the anxiety. So how are you thinking about it? Is there an opportunity for you to reframe it and maybe think about it more as excitement? Reframing is a tool that I often use with my clients to really just reframe how they think about the world, how they think about their job, how they think about life. There's an opportunity to leverage reframing as a tool for negotiation anxiety. And then, practice regularly, start negotiating more. Research has shown that women don't really negotiate at all, right? So if we start practicing regularly and doing it regularly, it then becomes a tool within our toolbox that we can easily pull out because we've been doing it so much. And then know yourself, know what is important to you, know what you stand for and what you want, and then treat it like a game and don't take it personally. They can either say yes or they can say no, but you'll never know if you don't ask.
Yeah, that's big. I love that. Treat it like a game and do not take it personally. Did y'all hear that? That's a big one to me. I love that.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah,
thing. I think when people take it personally, it's that yes or no. What if they say no? Then there's this additional anxiety that stems from that.
awesome. I definitely agree with that. So, what does a typical like negotiation package look like when we're getting into the weeds of things? And
Yeah, so the typical compensation package, it can range, right? So it just varies based on company. Now, I'm going to be talking about from the perspective of if you just got an offer, or maybe you're working at a current employer and you want to negotiate your compensation. You think you should be making more. It's a year into the job and it's time to negotiate more money. But there's, like I stated earlier, there's other things to negotiate. You can negotiate so many things in life, but
mhm.
specific for just a compensation package, it really varies based on company. But it includes like base salary. Today, you have a lot of companies giving restricted stock units, or just stock in general,
Mhm.
sign-on payments, the medical benefits, and then there's the additional add-on benefits such as tuition, et cetera. But I will say that everything is up for negotiation when you're looking at an offer, or if you're negotiating your current company. So some of the things I tell my clients to be mindful of, if they can't do the salary, if they can't meet your salary expectation, maybe there's an opportunity to be in the middle and really think about some of the other parts of the package. So there's the PTO, maybe you can get more PTO, sick time, increase in sick time. Maybe they can add stock. You can even negotiate your job title. They can pay for conference attendance, professional dues, tuition reimbursement, maybe your work schedule. You need more flexibility. There's
Mm.
opportunity to maybe think about getting that, negotiating that, and then maybe work from home. I mean, I know we're all mostly working from home now, but if your employer is saying like it's time to go back to the office, or this job requires you to move, there's an opportunity to negotiate that, especially in this climate that we're in currently.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let me ask you a question. Like, how do we, sit down and really do inventory of what matters most to us? And how do we determine what to prioritize in life so we know exactly what to walk into there with, willing to, I don't know, willing to, negotiate with or not actually negotiate with? Like, how do we draw the line and really determine what's of value to us?
Yeah, so I believe that it really stems from knowing yourself and
Hmm.
knowing the value you bring to an organization. But if we're looking at some kind of like actions you can take today, um, it, one of the things you can think about is like a lot of women I work with, they like if they're negotiating like to get more money in their current company, that like I recommend kind of creating a kudos folder where you're keeping track of like the things that you've done in your current company that you've gotten kudos around. And it could be anything, just the big or small, that you've gotten kudos, you've gotten appreciation for someone, that sent you like, hey, well done. Because to be honest, we know those well done emails are especially in corporate America, they're very hard to come by. So when you get them,
Yeah.
you put them in your kudos folder. So you have the kudos folder, but then you also really invest in knowing yourself. Um, I think often, especially in this, new age with social media and all that good stuff, we lose ourselves and we don't really kind of pulse check to make sure that we know what we value and what's important to us. So I think there's an opportunity to do an inventory and really think like, what are the things that I value? What are the things that make me the most happy? And not faltering in those things, creating that list. And then when you have the list and have a true like reflection of like who you are, what you value, what's the most important to you in a place that you spend a majority of your time, then you can reconcile that as well with, okay, now I know the value I bring through some of the kudos I've gotten, and I know what's important to me. And you put those two things together, and it can really help you be really clear on the value that you bring to an organization. But Zakia, one of the things we talked about offline is that I wanted to do a giveaway for the
Hmm.
group, and we're going to talk about that more a little bit at the end of the session. But the giveaway is really it's an intentional effort that women can take today to really be able to define like what is your value to an organization. So it's not just it's not just something that you're kind of thinking about loosely, but there's resources and tools that you can leverage that will actually help you have a full clarity on what your unique value is to an organization. I think once you define that, you can negotiate anything because you can talk to someone about the value you're going to bring to them. And like I often share to my clients, like when we shift our mindset and start thinking about the opportunities that we have as a conversation, and there's a dialogue that's happening between you and a colleague. But often it's a mindset thing where people go in, or especially the women, because I only work with women. The women I work with go in with the mindset of it's me and the employer, and man, I really need this job. And I understand that perspective, but what if we change our mindset and we thought about it like, I'm going in to have a really reflective conversation with a colleague. I want to know more about them, and they want to know more about me, and this is a two-way conversation. And it's just an opportunity to learn. It changes the mindset. It changes how you approach the conversation. So those are some things I think that are really valuable when you think about like what your value is to an organization and how you can position that to get what you deserve when you're negotiating an offer of any kind.
I know everyone is definitely loving all this information. I see Roxanne definitely saying great tips, so true. Cheryl saying empowering. Everyone is definitely loving all this information. And I know they're going to be extremely excited once they learn more about your giveaway towards the end. Hi, D. Black Newton. Thank you guys so much for stopping in and joining us on this discussion. So I want to talk a little bit deeper about how can we gather information about our compensation norms? Like, how do we walk into an interview knowing what an employer is going to pay, or what should we expect to receive?
Yes, such a good question. So there's so many good resources out there. They could probably be better, but they're good for now. So some of the things that you can leverage to help you get some insight. Before I share that, I want to say this. We have to think about, like, historically for women, women have been grossly underpaid. And there's a lot of pay inequity that's happening right now. So I don't want us to have our mindset so fixated on, well, this is where I am today. And because I'm here, I can only make $10,000 more when I make it to a new role, which I hear so often. So when I'm sharing with my clients, be bold. Like, let's make $30,000 more. I mean, one of my clients made $50,000 more when she was going into a new role. So don't let your current salary keep you thinking small. Leverage tools like Glassdoor.com, PayScale. There's the BLS, so the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They have salary comp data, salary.com, and Indeed.com has a salary search tool as well. But I think the priority here is shifting your mind from, because this employer is paying me $75,000, that I should be happy if I'm making 80 or 85. Sis, no, because to be honest with you, that employer is probably underpaying you. When I sat in the talent acquisition seat, I will tell you how many women and underrepresented communities would be so grossly underpaid. Like, when I look at the pay range, they would be at $50,000, sometimes $60,000 less than the minimum of what we could pay for a role.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I have a real life story about something very, very similar. So I was interviewing for a position, and it was going to be a significant pay increase. And so I went in, to negotiate, and the hiring manager actually said to me, he said, well, aren't you going to be making more than your last job anyway? Even though I knew that the offer that they gave me wasn't what it should have been. And I was so baffled and taken away and not standing in my power, like you said, that I took the position. And so I took the position, and I found out about a year later that my male counterpart, who was underneath of me, was making more than I was making. And I was also training other people. So, I mean, women, listen, I know I'm
Yeah.
not the only one who's had that situation happen. And it turns into bitterness, resentment. When you start thinking about it from a lifelong perspective, that's so much
That's
money that we're
legacy.
missing. Yeah, legacy from our, children's college fund,
Yep.
our retirement, our quality of life when we're 80, 90 years old. So conversations like this are so important because it's not just about, if you're rich people even still love to make more money. But no matter how much you make, we have to get to a position, especially as women, that we feel empowered enough to stand in our truth and then walk away from positions and offers that don't serve us.
Walk away.
So
And
walk away.
Zakia, funny story. So let me share my story on
Yes,
this.
go
When I
ahead.
was in the recruiter seat, and I'm a believer in. I think I advocate too much for candidates sometimes. So as a recruiter, there was a woman that we were trying to hire for a position, and her salary was $30,000 less. Her salary expectation was $30,000 less than a minimum. So me being who I am, I just wrote in the minimum that she wanted the minimum. She got this job. She started this job and told on me, and she went to go tell her manager that, oh, I told Chi I could make less money. I don't know why she put me in for that much money. So this is a true story. So she was making $20,000-$30,000 more because of I had to just kind of I couldn't like sleep with myself. Like I couldn't sleep at night just putting that low of a comp. So I put higher, and she went to go tell the leaders that she said she could have made less money. And I said, isn't that isn't
Oh,
that isn't that sad? Because I just think it's a mindset thing where it's just you're happy with just enough, and whatever you can do to get by. You don't want anything more. You maybe think you don't deserve more, maybe.
mhm,
I don't want to put
mhm.
thoughts in her head, but what else could be if you're making more money and doing more work? Would you not be, excited about it? But I just think it's funny because it's real. I think it's ingrained in women, especially that do we really deserve what we're asking for, or are we enough to be able to ask for more? But yes, 100% we are.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so happy, as I look through the chat, I see some men in here too. Will, Sean, and some other gentlemen as well. And this conversation to me is very important for men to also hear. And that's why, it's like I always say, it's a collaboration amongst men and women, because a lot of times we don't get to hear each other's perspective on what the experience is like for each of us, going to the negotiation table. So, and then there's tons of men who are in positions of power and influence who can advocate for women and vice
Yes.
versa, or share a lot of the tips that you're sharing with us today to help empower young daughters and their sisters to get what they deserve and ask for what they deserve.
And I,
So,
and I
go
want to
ahead.
add something. I don't want us to, sit in that, women need to do more, or like in the work I do in DEI, I often say, like, we talk about the individuals in the underserved communities always having to fix themselves. But what
Mm-hmm.
accountability will we give to the employers? So there is
That is true.
accountability that's needed for the employers to also create a space for women to be able to negotiate, and then also create an opportunity for pay visibility. Like we all need to have visibility into the pay or the ranges of pay that's available for opportunities that you're being considered for. So there's responsibility that we also need to be put in place for employers. So men that are in leadership positions, even other women that are in leadership
Mm-hmm.
positions, how are you ensuring that there is pay equity and that women are also having the opportunity to negotiate for themselves? Because like research has shown, if women are given the opportunity to negotiate, we will negotiate. It's just really
Mm-hmm.
having that opportunity or feeling like our voice will be heard.
That is an extremely good point. Thank you very much for mentioning that. I also wanted to mention, where does it come from where we're not okay with talking about salary in the workplace? Is that something that employers have kind of restricted us from negotiating? Is that like a taboo, or is it becoming more normal for us to have conversations about salary? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think it's because, well, so there's two questions there. I'll answer the latter, then I'll do the former. So you know, it's becoming more normal, right? So I think newer generations are kind of stepping into that, like, this is my time. What I negotiate in the work I do is what I have to live with. So I'm going to be really smart and negotiate ahead of getting into the opportunity. So I think it's becoming more normal to negotiate. I think that you know, people are now sharing their compensation with their colleagues more. I think research has even shown, like, from a generational perspective, like, I think millennials and I forget the other generation, but are more comfortable, right, sharing comp. Now, so the former question is, you know, why do people not talk about their salaries? To be honest, Zakia, I can just even ask kind of a question back to you, like, why are people so uncomfortable saying that they want more? You know, they want more money. I think we've created this in our society in itself. We created this taboo of wanting more money or wanting to make more money, or if you have wealth for some reason, you're not Christian or you're not religious or you're not whatever, you know, your faith is. So we've put this this kind of if you value money, then you're not a good person. And I think women have really that kind of embody that even more. And it's like, if you're a woman that's driving for money, you're probably a bitch. Or if you're a woman that wants to, like, say, like, oh, why is that person making more than me? Then you're probably someone that doesn't play well with others. So I think we have such a negative connotation around money. And we often want women to only think about, like, you know, doing sweet things and just nice. Oh, she's just so sweet and she's just so nice and she's just helping everyone without getting anything in return. So I think that's also what has, and again, this is just, you know, my opinion. It's not research based, but when I'm kind of right now, I'm working on kind of digging into, like, the wanting more money and really being able to talk to my clients about this. Like, it's okay to want more money. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, just to even say that they want to make $30,000 more, they act like they just said a bad word. And I'm like, it's okay to want more, because, like I said earlier, the money that we're making in our corporate, if you decide to stay in corporate, it creates the legacy for your family. It allows you to be able to save for your children's college fund. You know, so there's so much there. And I think that's what creates this kind of secrecy around what we make. And of course, employers have a part in it as well. But you know, if we go in with the mindset that, yes, we work for a corporation, but we're still individuals, and we're individuals that want to understand how we're being compensated, I think that what I'm starting to see is that we're starting to take ownership and driving conversations around money and, you know, wanting to be paid fairly. So.
Oh my goodness, amazing points. You know, I can definitely, you know, agree with what you said, because I grew up hearing a lot about, you know, rich people are greedy. And now, you know, standing where I am now, I think, you know, wealth is a great thing. Wealth means you can tithe more, you can experience more, you can hire more. You know, there's so many benefits from having more money. And there's nothing wrong with you enjoying life and having things around you that bring you fulfillment as well. And let's be honest, money can do that for you. So,
sure
and
can.
that's okay. So I see Sean Lott said there needs to be an holistic approach to righting the wrong. It starts with acknowledgement, followed quickly by progressive action. I like that. I do like that.
Great.
And then Will also asked, do you believe that the practice of corporations asking the candidates during the application interview stage how much they expect to get paid is a positive or negative in getting the salary that they want? That is a great question. I cannot wait to hear how you answer this one.
Yeah, so this is a really great question. So, you know, I see it as a positive, but I see it as a positive if you do all the things kind of we talked about earlier, like if you're prepared, if you go in knowing your baseline, if you know your value, then we also have to really clear. The question is, what is your expectation? So I want to make it really clear. Employers should not be asking, what are you currently earning? And you should in no way, fashion, or form tell them what you're earning. So generally what I educate with my clients is when they ask you your expectation, then we work together to create an expectation. So if today you're making 100,000, and after we've done the work to determine what makes sense for you and what are you willing to accept, then we would say, like, if they ask you your expectation, if your expectation is you don't want to make any less than 135, I'm going to recommend to my client, then let's go in and your expectation, you then share a range of 145 to 155. So we just added $10,000 to what your minimum expectation was. Again, please, please, please do not share your current compensation. Share your expectation, give it in a range, and be sure to add some money to it. Add some money to your minimum. I just recently was educating a group of recruiters on this. And one of the things I shared with them, because they were really upset. So I can give you guys the inside scoop. Recruiters get frustrated when you don't share your comp. So there was a whole conversation on, man, these candidates are trying to keep their comp secret. So my perspective that I shared with them is you have to really think about it. If you're in a community or a group that has been grossly underpaid throughout your entire career, there's a lot of distrust there in sharing your compensation, because you're probably already frustrated with the fact that your comp is so low. And then you're thinking to yourself, I know this company's probably not going to pay me what I deserve, but whatever, so this is all this frustration. So they're not going to be as willing to share their compensation expectations or even just what they're making today. But just know that there's no requirement for you as a candidate that you need to come out and tell an employer what your current compensation is today. I will say it's beneficial for you to share your expectations after you've been really thoughtful about what it is, because sometimes the company really can't pay. And what I tell people when I used to be in the recruiter seat is that you want to make sure that this is not a waste of time for you and the company. So after you've made the decision on what you want to accept and will not accept, then you share that with the company. If they say we can't meet it, then bye. But if you're open to making less, then say to the company, hey, are you open to negotiating other things? Because, hey, I would love to negotiate this title, or maybe negotiate the work from home. It just really depends where you are. Sometimes it depends on how badly you want to leave your current company. So I think that's a great question. And I think it's a positive for the candidate if they're really thoughtful in the front end to know what they will and will not accept.
Very great points. I actually had a time where I applied for a position when I was an employee, and it was a requirement to actually input my current salary. Now that was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, so hopefully that's changed more recently. Okay, good. Okay.
And I will say, if it's a requirement, what I tell people, because some companies, they're still trying it, just put 0. Yeah, just put 0. Yeah.
Great tip.
Yeah, and it works. Then they'll call. If you can get through the system, they'll reach out even if the zero's there, and they'll try to do a kind of a deeper dive to figure out what your comp expectations are. And I'm going to say that the way recruiters are trained is to get it from the first call. You don't have to give it the first call. If you're not prepared in the first call, don't give it. If you're not, don't give it. Give it when you're ready. And usually that's not in the first conversation. It's okay to tell the employer, I've really enjoyed our conversation. This has been great. I need some time to really reflect over the opportunity, and I'll circle back to you with my expectations. Or you can even say like, hey, this has been a great conversation. I would love to dive a bit deeper with the hiring manager. Is there an opportunity for you to go ahead and schedule a call with the hiring manager so I get more of like a calibrated on the role? And after that happens, then we can talk about compensation. So there's so many things that could be said to kind of buy some time as you're working on what's important to you.
Okay, I love that. Oh, okay. So can you also tell us what kind of effort should go into preparing for negotiations?
Yeah.
And how can we get a better idea of some acceptable alternatives? I know you touched base on that a little bit as well already, but
yeah,
I'm gonna go a little bit deeper.
So I would say that to prepare for negotiations for women, there's been a lot of research that, as I kind of mentioned earlier, that when women are negotiating on behalf of someone else, they actually can outperform men. Whereas when they're negotiating for themselves, they don't perform as well. So I think there's some of the preparation that can go into it is really changing the perspective as a woman to maybe think beyond yourself. So maybe you think about you're negotiating for your family, or you're negotiating for legacy, or you're negotiating to show other women what they can achieve. Okay, so maybe if negotiating is hard for you to do it for yourself, then think about the other people that the negotiations that you make will impact them. So also I would say, know what your minimum is, and know if you're willing to make trade-offs for it. Research the benchmark for the role you have the offer for, even if the role you're sitting in today. But don't be blinded or have limiting beliefs because of what you're getting paid today. Sometimes where you're getting paid today is just it's just a kind of limitation based on the company you're at, and they didn't see your value, or they're not paying fair, right? And know what you're not willing to accept and what you'd walk away from. If you're going to go into negotiation, like I often share, if you're going to go into negotiation, you also have to be ready to walk away. So I think that's key, because the negotiation might not go your way, or you just accept trade-offs. And then Zakiya, you had a follow-up question. I missed that. What was it?
Yeah, I asked, should women consider acceptable alternatives?
Acceptable alternative to preparing?
Acceptable alternatives, to preparing for negotiation. So, for instance, like you said earlier, if we're walking in and we're expecting to be paid or feel like we should be paid $110,000, should we also throw into the equation paid time off or teleworking and things like that before we actually, enter in this space of negotiation?
Everything that you need and want, right? It's not only about need. Sometimes it's okay to want stuff. Everything that you need and want, you need to be able to clearly understand them for yourself before you go into any type of negotiation. And if you're keeping your kudos folder, right? So if you're negotiating a higher salary or even an offer, if you're keeping your kudos folder, I've kept my kudos folder, I think, for the last 10 years, and I tell my girlfriends to do it too. And you should be able to then forward stuff in your kudos folder to yourself when you're leaving the company. If you're keeping your kudos folder and you have your list of acceptable and not acceptable, no one's going to be able to distract you from what you're negotiating, because you're able to now articulate the value you bring to the organization. And then you're able to also talk about the things that you will and will not accept.
Yeah, I love that. I've never heard anybody mention a kudos folder. Yeah, but I love that. I feel like that would make us feel very empowered and unsure of ourselves. And like you said, it's a reminder, along your journey where you've come from and, where you
what you've done. Not somebody else, what you did. And, again, there's a big piece of like women using we instead of I. So really bringing everyone along when they've been the people that have achieved set outcome. So it's just a reminder that you did all of this, and, take ownership of it. It was your success.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the more collaborative approach when it comes to speaking and
Yeah.
things like that where you're negotiating. I love that. So I want you to also tell everyone, everybody's saying kudos folder. They love that too, Cheryl. Yeah, that's a big one. Definitely. We all need to start doing that. I want to give you some time too to tell us about your giveaway. I'm
Oh,
super
yeah.
excited to hear about this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to share it. So, one of the things I was thinking about, and Zakia invited me, is like, wow, there could be an opportunity to kind of give back, because that's what it's all about. It's all about giving back. Because this work, focusing on women and making sure that all women achieve the goals that they've set forth for themselves is, it makes me really, really happy. So the giveaway. So I'm also, I am a valued associate with a assessment company. So it's a science-backed assessment company, similar to kind of a DISC, and they've created their own assessment called the 12 Driving Forces. And through their assessment product that I'm able to administer and debrief, it's called Talent Insights. You will then get a 40, 50 page, it's massive and it's amazing, 40, 50 page result. So a link would be sent to you. You would take an assessment in a quiet area. And what you get from it, Zakia, like, I've given this assessment to my husband, my girlfriends, and time again, they're looking at it like, how did this thing know me like this? The first time I did it before I became a valued associate, my coach gave it to me. And I read it. I was like, oh my God, this thing is really good. So immediately I reached out to the company to sign up. And I said, it has to be a tool in my coaching business. So I want to offer that up to this group. If they reach out to me on Instagram, I don't know if you can put my Instagram in reach out to me on Instagram and send me a message and let me know that you found me here. It's for women. Sorry, men. So if you can reach out to me. So the value of this assessment is you are now, there's a section that says like values to an organization. It gives you that level of detail. So basically it's really focused on your behaviors and your motivations. So it's really provides value for you to understand like your why and your how in everything that you do. And when you specifically think about the motivations, it's what motivates you to get up. Like, I know, like if you're familiar with the DISC, there's the DISC, right? Kind of like your behavior, but individuals' behaviors or DISC can be similar, but their motivations are different. Okay, so this is putting it all together to speak to uniquely who you are and uniquely to the value that you bring to an organization. So imagine having that 40, 50, I think it's 47 pages, that 40, 50 page document before an interview or even before a negotiation. And you can specifically say to an organization, this is the values I bring to the organization. And it writes it out for you in a really beautiful way. It tells you more about your what your interests are and what you value. So I'm excited to be offering that. I'll offer it to the first 2 people that reach out to me on the ElevatHer. I'll send you the assessment link. And then I'll set up time for a 30-minute, 45-minute debrief to talk through it.
Yes, you guys better message now. That is amazing. That sounds like a great way to see the story of yourself. Yeah,
it's awesome. It's really awesome.
Okay, so everyone, you see the ElevatHer on Instagram, go ahead and send her a message. You could be the first 2 people. I will not be offended. You have to take ownership and really go for what you want in life. We said a little bit earlier, women make 81% on the dollar of men. And depending on your ethnic group, the number goes significantly down. So, this conversation and many more that need to be had on this topic. So I'm so grateful, eternally grateful for the work that you do, for you coming here and sharing your wisdom with us. And then also, guys, definitely follow her on Instagram. because I'm plugged in myself, because I love your snips of tips and top
Thank
3 tips on
you.
things that we should do. Like you said earlier, negotiating is not just for your job; it's for negotiating. You want to get a new vehicle, anything like that. So, any final tips that you want to leave with our audience today?
Yeah, I think it's just one, like, you deserve it all. Like, don't
Mm-hmm.
allow other people to tell you kind of limits of what your life should look like. Go after it all. You deserve it all.
That is beautiful. I love that. And on that note, like Will
Thank
said,
you, Zakia.
happy International Women's Day. You guys continue to be plugged in with us here at Bloom. We have amazing women like Chi Chi continue to come on here and share amazing knowledge. This platform is all about empowering and uplifting others. I'm so grateful for the men that have continued to join us along our journey. You are also equally partnering with us and
Yes.
invested in us as well. And we totally appreciate that for you all sharing intimate conversations. Yet Roxanne said, indeed, we all deserve it. So Chi Chi, we will definitely be in touch.
Thank
I'm so
you.
grateful for you again. And thank you very
Zakia,
much
thank
for
you so
blooming.
much for inviting me into your space. This is amazing. Keep doing this. It's great. We need a communities like this where people are coming in and sharing with us valuable information that you might not have access to. Because it's really all about access, and everyone doesn't have the same access. So you are really creating an opportunity for everyone to have access to knowledge. So thank you for this space.
Thank you. And I
Yeah,
hope to see you back again. You're now a friend to the show, so come back and see us anytime.
I will be back. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We will see you next week. Y'all have a blessed day.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.